Okay, this is our review for a cappella arranging techniques. This is David Scott, Berklee College of Music. Remember, there are two main styles of a cappella writing. One is rubato style, and one is a groove-oriented style. We'll explore each of these styles in a little more detail. Some examples of rubato style are My Romance by the Singers Unlimited, A Quiet Place by Take 6, Their Hearts Were Full of Spring by the Four Freshmen, and Brahms' Lullaby by the Hylos. In each of these examples, there's no steady tempo. The tempo of the words is the most important thing. Other style of a cappella arranging is with a groove. It Don't Mean a Thing by the Real Group, Chameleon by Vox 1, Mary by Take 6, Wall of Sound by Naturally 7. Each of these tunes uses various techniques to establish a groove. Of course, we don't have a rhythm section, so the voices have to do it. A rubato technique is homophonic writing. All of the singers are singing the same words at the same time, in harmony. This allows for a lot of freedom and flexibility, a lot of reharmonization options. You can also vary the texture, go from unison to 2-part, 3-part, 4-part, and more. Like in this example of Always Chasing Rainbows by the Four Freshmen. They start off on one note, then they split into 2, then they split into 3, and then finally on the word rain, they're in 4-part harmony. Unison is another effective rubato technique. Everybody singing the same line at the same time. The best unison singing is done when people are singing flexibly, like a soloist would sing. Flexible phrasing. Key changes are an important part of rubato writing. You can do a direct modulation, like in this example, which is If We Ever Needed the Lord Before by Take 6. Or you can modulate through a common tone. My Romance, Singers Unlimited. Soft guitars, that last note of tars becomes the first note of My Romance, and we change keys that way. Putting the melody in the inner voice is a great change-up. Instead of always having the melody on top in the soprano voice, in this example, the melody goes down to the tenor, and the background pads, oohs, are in the soprano, alto, and bass. Now, let's talk about some groove techniques. If you're writing a cappella with a groove, one way to establish a groove is with the bass singer. The bass singer is a very important part of establishing groove in a cappella. In a jazz style, the bass singer might walk a bass line, like in this example from Mary from Take 6. Another common technique for establishing groove in a cappella music is vocal percussion, or beatboxing. This is Paul Stiller from Vox 1. Another thing to do is rhythmic homophony. In other words, all of the singers are singing the same thing at the same time. It can be with words or without words, and the rhythm of what they're doing establishes a groove. In barbershop music, you might have this type of homophony. Goodbye, my Coney Island baby. Also in gospel music, Lord, I'm praying humble. Lord, I'm playing humble. Lord, humble child. Humble just because them bells done rung. If everybody's singing the same thing in a rhythmic way, that establishes a groove. You can also use a rhythmic ostinato with background vocals. So in this example, from Take 6, you've got the melody, and then in the background, you've got a rhythmic ostinato on words. Need him, need him, need him. Another groove technique is staggered entrances, or sometimes it's called bell tones. For example, if the bass comes in on beat 1, the tenor comes in on the and of 1, the alto comes in on beat 2, and the soprano comes in on the and of 2. You establish a nice rolling groove pattern, even though each individual part is not particularly rhythmic. When they are all interlocking together, you get a nice forward motion. This example is from Danny Boy from Vox 1. The staggered entrances are between the tenor and the alto part.